Hello and welcome to this extensive video on the eye shader for Unity. What you get when you open this is a few examples of the eye shader Model 3, and that's signified by this ES3. So the shaders have evolved through time, and I have still included all of them in the project in case you want to see some of the previous versions that did look a bit more cartoony or kind of a bit plastic. So I've gone to town with this a bit and added a whole lot of features to give you loads of control. So I'm going to take this one as an example. I'm just going to make some tweaks and show you what everything does. So first off, there's this mask, and what this does is, if I just select it in the project, okay, so if you look at each channel, the red channel deals with this limbo ring here, and it lets you, control how much of that you see and what color and things like that you want it to be. The green channel deals with the veins, so you can basically draw in your own veins with the green here, and the blue channel deals with the iris area, and this plus the ring, this gets like controlled whether you want it to be bigger or smaller through the shader itself. There's an added effect of parallax. You can only just see it here, but I'll show you in detail. So there's also like an iris detail mask, and you can make this texture a lot bigger than this one. It doesn't have to correspond with it because the shader actually brings it to the right area based on that blue mask area. And there's also a normal map for veins, as well as a normal map to get this lens effect, and you can change these up however you like. Okay, so first off, you've got the eyeball color and gloss in the alpha. So if I change this, I can change the eyeball color to whatever I want. If you want to make a kind of weird alien looking eye, and then the gloss is controlled by alpha, and then you've got the iris base color. So the iris here uses two tones. It's got a tone for this mask, and it's got the sort of background tone here which you can control. So let's change this to like red or something. See, you can go quite bright with it. Now alpha doesn't do anything in this one. You can change the iris extra color and the amount in the alpha. So as I change that up, you see it actually does change this color, so we can change that to like a fiery red, or see what works. Quite like this magenta type look. And as you increase that there, it gets brighter. And you can also like choose how much of that comes in. It's very similar to making it dark and light really, but it's just, it gives you a bit of a different control with it. Okay, the eye vein color and amount, so that'll be the veins here, and that's controlled by the green channel. You see, you can go really bright with the colors. You want something like that, and the amount, you might just want it a little bit. I've changed a few things with Unity. I just want to find where the outline selection is, but I can't seem to find it. Cosmos. This is it. Okay, that's it. Okay, so what else have we got? Got your ring color and amount, so we can change the ring color to like white and make it really kind of bright. You see it doesn't quite work because there's a few other features of the ring down here. So you got the limbo edge adjustment and the gloss. Right, but there's also some metalness that have an effect on it. This metalness here makes it darker. You can see it tends to be quite hard to make that anything other than a dark tone, but you can definitely tint it. So you see white doesn't quite go full white because it's mixed in so much with these effects. But having it a dark colour is what you want, so that you get that kind of separation. Okay, we can change the actual eye size, so how much of that blue area gets through, as well as the iris size if you want. And it's good to have the individual control of this because it lets you sort of use that texture however you like. You can see if you start to go smaller, it repeats itself, and that's just the way the texture is built. Can rotate this, but this is an animated rotation, so you can have it always rotating like that, and you can have it left or right, so it's how far off is it from 0. It's just an added effect if you want it. You got your lens gloss, so how reflective is that, and if you want to push the lens out, so that basically takes this little normal map here and pushes it. And you get a nice kind of lensy sort of effect. Now this being just one mesh, it's not made up of two parts like some eyes are. Like this will be a kind of conical inward part, and then the lens itself will be a kind of bulging out. It's just one mesh. A lot of the effects are driven through the shader. So like this pupil, for example, you can push that back using this parallax height, and there's a few sort of fine-tune controls with that. You can see now it has a kind of more 3D effect. It's a little bit holographic because the shader does have a kind of limitation to it, but at a distance it works quite nicely. You can change the sharpness of the pupil, or you can blur it out so it looks almost like a blind eye. And then you've got this height to width ratio to make it look a frog eye or a cat's eye. Now you need to be careful when you do the cat's eye because it does play quite heavily with the parallax effect, so you might want to reduce that. And then reducing that, I need to change the size. You can get this cat's eye, and then it's going to frog eye. A couple of these settings, they do play with each other a bit to get what you want. You do have to sort of try them out. The dilation factor is how much the pupil dilates based on the light source, so it's mainly the directional light that affects it. So as I bring this round to the back, the pupil will dilate, and that's automatic. That's just a built-in feature because the shader knows the light position. There's also a little trick happening with the shader for the sort of caustic effect on the iris. So as you move that round, you can see this kind of bit just moves round, and there is control of that. So that's really the caustic power and the effect in darkness, so you might want it to glow in the dark. And the mask, if you look at that, it's just this little kind of ring part that lines up with the blue mask. And I've given you a few options here so you can try them out. Same with all the other stuff. So if you were to swap that out for even something like this, you can see what kind of effect it would have. But really you should be using these ones. That's what they're designed for. You can choose whatever works, or you can make up your own. So as I move the directional light again, okay, so there's a few other bits here as well. You've got eye shading power. Now, this is just a kind of dark area that goes between the top and the bottom, and that's useful if you want to just shade the eyes once they're embedded into your character's head. Ideally, if you've already got eyes on your character, you want to take their eyes out and replace them with these eyes, and just child them to the head bone, and they should follow the head perfectly. So if you're using something like the UMA characters or anything like a DAZ Studio character, just make sure you remove the eyes on export, or when you bring them in, you can take the eyes away easily to bring these ones in. There's a little micro scatter effect here, which is just a little bit of internal noise to break up the eye here, because sometimes you get a little scattering of light in the eyeball. You can change how much of an effect that has. You see it does start to look a little bit glistening without any post-processing, so it's recommended to use something that can take that out. So I don't know if the main camera has something like MSAA, but it's more likely going to be a post-process effect that cleans that up if you really need it, but it's just there if you want it. You also have this minimal glow, and this makes your eye more cartoony because it won't react to light as much, so it keeps it quite bright. And the subsurface from directional light, you can choose how much of the light affects that. So if I decrease that minimal glow, you can see that the light source actually penetrates some of the surface. The pupil auto dilate factor. Now, as I play this, just need to enable the. Okay, we're missing a script here. So there used to be scripts that would rotate this light, but it seems to be missing. I'll just remove that for now. I'll just show you what I mean manually. You can have the pupil dilate a certain amount, and as you increase that, the pupil dilation affected by light, it will dilate more or less, and this is a kind of multiplier to that as well, so you can fine tune it. So if I change the light rotation, it can go from really small when the light's on it to really big when the light's not on it. Let's go ahead and try and make a normal looking eye this time. Something like these ones. So I'm going to take this colour and put it to a kind of lightish bluey grey. And that's the eyeball itself. The iris base I'll make kind of dark. Let's go for kind of blue eyes. The vein color, bring that back down to kind of red tone. You see I can increase the bumps of the veins there. Need any rotation. Let's push the lens just a little bit. And there you have something that looks a bit more human. And it's very similar to some of the examples I've made. There's a couple of improvements that I could make with this shader in general, like to take the metallic look out of it. I'd probably look at changing the eyeball gloss and adding some kind of clear coat for a separated wet look to, you know, help alleviate this bright spot. So see, as I decrease that, it starts to look a little bit more fleshy, I guess, but it's just missing that little glossiness to show that it's wet. So that's something I'll look at adding soon. Hope you enjoyed this video, and if you've got any questions about using the eye shader, feel free to comment below. Thanks for watching. Bye.